Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is your host, Wes, and today we're going to be reviewing Killmonger number 3. Bottom line up front, this is a recommend, probably the weakest of the three books so far, but still really good. Bryan Hill's on top of his game with this series. We'll get right on to the cover. Pretty cool cover. The artwork's pretty nice. You know, it's Killmonger with a bullseye on his head. Makes sense that at the very end of the last issue, Bullseye showed up and was about to have a confrontation with him and his kill crew. Still think the top of the book doesn't, or the cover doesn't look right. Probably should just have the banner. Feels like there's too much dead space, but otherwise it's pretty nice. On this book, we have the aforementioned Bryan Hill as the writer, and Juan Ferreyra is the artist. I guess on Twitter, Bryan announced that this is going to be his last year writing comics, which is pretty disappointing. It feels like he's really hit his stride of late. So I was looking forward to more Romulus and some of his other works. But I guess he's going to finish off Killmonger. He's going to do Batman and the Outsiders. I think there's one more book. And then he said there's another unannounced big surprise. Looking forward to that, but pretty disappointed. Bryan's going to be dipping out of comic books, but makes sense. I guess he's always really been more of a script writer for movies and television, so probably moving on to bigger and better things. But he's doing excellent here on Killmonger. Glad he's working on this series. He's done excellent so far. So this story picks up right where the last one left off. They're in a parking lot. They're on the top. Bullseye has just shown up. He's killed one member of the crew, Rook. He basically ripped his head off, and then you have Killmonger here firing right back at him. We have Bullseye talking some smack, and he throws a knife at him, and King uses his mutant ability and stops the knife and basically saves Erik's life. Tells him to run. Instead of running, Erik goes right after Bullseye, says, "I'm not scared of him." And then there's a big splashy double page spread of action. And basically Bullseye starts beating the snot out of everybody. And he lays them all out. And so King grabs Erik, and they jump for it. It's King, Knight, and Erik. And as they're falling, King uses his mutant abilities and takes him on the way down, and Bullseye gets one last little crack at him, says, "You look scared, kid," as they're running for it. Next page, we see Bullseye calling up Kingpin. Kingpin's asking for resolution, and then Bullseye's reporting back that they ran for it. And then Kingpin says, "Well, the message is clear, and if they're smart, they'll leave New York and they're not going to come back." And then Bullseye says, "And otherwise, I'm going to get time and a half," and makes a little bloody cross on his bullseye. Basically says he's going to murder him if they come back. Here we see the team definitely has got the message as they're talking about how they're going to escape New York. And Erik is like, "Oh, we have to kill Fisk." And King kind of gives him a rundown. He's like, "You're not killing Fisk. You're not killing Klaw. You're not killing anybody. You're not strong enough to kill a king." Kind of a harbinger of things to come when he actually tries to kill T'Challa in Black Panther, the movie. So he and Rook decide that she's going to get him some passports and get him into a safe house, but they need to keep each other awake. So the next panel, she makes it very clear this doesn't mean anything, but they decide they're going to get down with the business here. But it's just adrenaline. That's all it needs to be. You know, she's trying to keep it all strictly business here. But it's pretty funny because Erik doesn't have a good reaction to this. He's decided like he's in love with her and telling her how he wants to be his queen, and kind of breaks down what happened to him in his younger days with Klaw. Then starts telling her about Wakanda and how beautiful it is, and how they pray to the mother goddess Bast, and he's telling her this beautiful story, And basically she's she's like, yeah, I've heard of Wakanda. I need to go get our passports. I'm gonna leave you here, but I'll be back. I promise. And then the next panel, you see he wakes up and he's got some sights laid out on him, and he's basically being captured. And then you see in the car that Rook is basically, or I'm sorry, not Rook. Knight has turned on him. Rook was murdered in the last book. Knight has actually turned on him, and she's being told by an unidentified figure that she's making the right choice. Then we have Erik. He wakes up basically like in a holding cell on a dockyard, and he's screaming, "I know you can hear me." And then you get a conversation between Knight and her accomplice that actually captured him. They're talking about they're not going to hurt him, and kind of curious how an MIT grad ended up with your crew, kind of thing. I'm gonna stop here with the new pictures. I don't want to give too much of it away, but they do eventually explain who she's in cahoots with, and she tries to get Erik to join her side and betray somebody. But you should read the book. It's pretty good. Like I said, it's the weakest of the three, but it's still a good book. This is more of a transition from phase 2 of the story to the final phase 3, the final portion of the book or the story. It's only a 5 issue series, so this is basically a transition into the final stage of the book. It looks like it's going to get much better. I'm really excited. I think the series has been awesome. I would highly suggest anyone, if you haven't read the first two, go grab those two. They're even better. They're rife with action, really stylized. The art's really cool. Like I said, this one's not quite as good, but it's still really good. There's like one page later on that's kind of, I wouldn't call it silly, but it's from his perspective, and I don't know, didn't really work for me. But one page out of 80 so far hasn't worked for me. So this has been excellent. Marvel doesn't put out a whole lot of books that I like, but this one's definitely really good. So I'd suggest the whole series. This is definitely a recommend. If you got through this video so far, please like it, subscribe to the channel for more reviews, and I could always use feedback on how I can improve the channel, presentation, anything like that. So you can always contact me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC, or you can contact me at my Gmail, wesdiggscomics@gmail.com. With that, I'm out. Salamat po.